The last guy that I want to talk about for the Falcons today is Drake London, because this is a wide receiver that I have been very, very high on. I've drafted him in fantasy the past 2 or 3 years. Definitely two. I think probably three. And he had a really good rookie year, about 900 yards. And then his sophomore year, I think the general consensus was that he was going to take a big leap because Desmond Ritter was, and this is really funny in hindsight because Ritter ultimately it didn't work out there in Atlanta at all. But in hindsight, it is funny. However, at the time, when Desmond Ritter had come in originally for the Falcons over the last final games of Drake London's rookie year, him and London had a really good connection. London was averaging about 72 yards a game when Desmond Ritter was throwing him the ball. And so going into London's sophomore year, I think a lot of people thought, I know I did, that Desmond Ritter was going to be able to deliver London this ball pretty consistently, and he was going to no doubt be at least 1,000-yard wide receiver, if not, 1,200-yard wide receiver. And that didn't happen. Drake London, in terms of his stats in production, he was pretty stagnant in general. And really, if you looked at it from the lens of this was his second year, it looked like he kind of had regressed because he was doing the same stuff, and I believe he had less receptions than he did his previous year. So it kind of looked like he regressed or at the very least plateaued. But now Kirk Cousins comes in, and he's finally got a real quarterback, and Drake London has shown what he really can do. This is another guy like Mike Evans who's just a big-bodied wide receiver, really tall, so he can make those 50-50 catches. And my best comparison for him is Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas catches a lot of flack now. Even when he was at the top of his game, Michael Thomas got a lot of flack for being a slant boy, right? But now it's kind of just been because he's injured. But moving back to the Michael Thomas comparison, I think that's because Drake London is really good at cutting inside the middle and just using his length to catch the ball and rack up the receptions, because he had a lot of receptions this game too, along with yards, but a lot of receptions this game. So London can catch a lot of targets, and he hasn't dealt with injuries too badly. So he's durable as well, and that's a very good combination. And I think Drake London has potential to be a very good and one of the top wide receivers in this league. Do I think he's going to be that this year? No. This is only his first year with Kirk. I think it's going to take a little bit longer to really, really gel. But this past game against the Buccaneers, he had, I believe, 154 yards. London was great, and I think it's just a sign of things to come that he's going to be a top wide receiver in this league in a couple of years. I have no doubt about that. And I will die on that hill. If Drake London is not a top 10 to 5 range wide receiver in 2 years from now, I will be very, very surprised. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you could find it in you to like, subscribe, maybe check out the full podcast on Spotify, follow us on there, follow us on Instagram. I know realistically this podcast isn't going to go anywhere ultimately, whether it's via the segments on YouTube or the entire podcast itself. But I want to get into the sports broadcasting business. I want to be able to promote thought-provoking discussions about the NBA, and I would love to do it via State of the Association. Thank you if you made it all the way through.